Hello and welcome to Daily Politics on Trust TV. On this program, we discuss issues around politics, policy, and governance. I'm Hamza Idris. Adamawa and Taraba are some of the few states which have been relatively quiet in terms of active national politics, even though the presidential flag bearer of the PDP, Atiku Abubakar, is from Adamawa. However, at the local level, there are serious realignments in the two northeastern states. For instance, in Taraba, there is an unwritten political arrangement for power shift among the three senatorial zones. But it appears this arrangement is being threatened for some reasons. The story is a bit different in Adamawa, where current Governor Ahmad Fintiri will slug it out with equally formidable contenders from other political parties, including a woman. Tonight, we are joined by Dr. Umar Ardo, a former high-ranking member of the People's Democratic Party and now the gubernatorial candidate of the Social Democratic Party in Adamawa State. We are also joined by Ilyasu Gadu, a diplomat, public commentator, and senatorial candidate of the People's Redemption Party in Taraba State. Together, we'll discuss the recent political developments in the two states. Welcome to the program, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good. Before we start the conversation, here are some political stories making the waves. Despite the accusations that the North has taken charge of the juicy positions in the People's Democratic Party, PDP, the party has appointed the Sokoto State Governor, Aminu Tambuwal, as Director General of the Presidential Campaign Organization for the 2023 elections, while Tambuwal is the Director General of the National Campaign Management Committee, NCMC. Governor Udom Emmanuel of Akwa Ibom State is the Chairman, Presidential Campaign Council, PCC. All the People's Democratic Party governors are also members of the committee, including the Rivers State Governor Wesam Wike, who has been demanding the resignation of the party chairman, Dr. Eochia Ayu. Again, another big story. A fierce battle broke out between the late Abubakar Shekau's Boko Haram faction and Islamic State West Africa province ISWAP on Thursday, which led to the killing of a commander simply identified as Kundu, and dozens of fighters between Dikwa and Bama local government areas of the state were neutralized. According to a security source, Kundu and his team were on a robbery mission when the ISWAP elements intercepted them on 6 motorcycles, each conveying 3 fighters. In another incident, Nigerian troops in a well-coordinated air operation destroyed 3 ISWAP enclaves in the northern part of the state, killing scores of terrorists, including 3 commanders in the Lake Chad Basin region. Well, welcome to the program. Doctor and Malaya Sugadu, 2 stories before we get into our topic of today, which is realignments in Adamawa and Taraba states. Doctor, what is your take on the raging controversy in PDP, for instance? Just your take. Now they have formed the campaign council and still all the positions occupied by the North. What does this portend?
Well, you know, the PDP is just steaming in its own stew because it created this problem for itself. Remember how PDP removed its national chairman, Uche Secondus, which case is still at the Supreme Court, adjourned for 30th of October 2023. Those who removed Secondus, those who collided and removed Secondus are the same persons fighting among themselves now. So I saw the clip where the national chairman said that at the heat of it, that if a northern candidate emerges as presidential candidate, he will resign. A northern candidate has emerged. So, you know, he ought to resign.
To live by his words.
He ought to resign, to live by his words, because this thing has a moral content in it. If I cannot trust your words when you utter them, why should I deal with you? So this is the dilemma that PDP is facing, and it is going to consume them.
Okay. It will consume them. You agree with what the doctor said?
Yeah, I think so. I quite agree with what the doctor is saying, because PDP, having lost the 2015 elections, should have gone into some kind of soul-searching introspection to be able to reject its order and make sure that those areas that made it lose the election 2015, but we still see what happened to bring it to where it is happening. And now we've reached the point where it's a point of no return. And for them, as the doctor said, they have been stumbling from one problem into the other because they have not addressed the fundamental issues that made them lose the election. So this is one of those issues. And the other thing is to engage with the people of Nigeria and to reject themselves and to represent and rebrand themselves. But we still see the same tactics, the same way of doing things that have more problems to them. And right now, they are, as you said, stewing in their own juices. And for me, I would say this is the last hurrah for the PDP. If they don't win this presidential election, which seems very unlikely, they should just pack their bags and go and leave Nigerian politics, because they would have turned the full circle in their own self-destructive activities.
Atiku left the country today after forming the committee. He met with some religious leaders in Lagos. Does that mean he has forsaken Wike?
No, I think he has been accused of being an absentee politician. I think he comes into the country when he goes in hibernation in Dubai, and then when it's time for him, this is not what I'm saying. It's even people from the party are saying Wike made that allegations. A lot of people share that view that he goes to Dubai and stays for 4 years. 3.5 years, and when it's time for politicking, he comes into Nigeria with all the fanfare, and then once the heat gets over, he goes to Dubai again or somewhere else to cool his heels. So this is not surprising. So, but yes, I think he should be around to make sure that once the presidential council is set up, he should sit down and see, those areas those gray areas are ironed out.
Because they are apparently they are clear, the gray areas of sort, since what they're supposed to sort out is like they didn't sort it out.
Yeah.
They are not likely to. PDP has too many fundamental issues. For me, the fundamental problem of PDP is abandoning its support base at the hour when its support base needs its support.
Where is the support base?
The support base of PDP has always been the Southeast and the South-South. These are the only two zones that have voted PDP from 1999 without failing till 2019. For 5 solid elections. So, it's two zones of this nature. You don't abandon them. You must do everything to protect their interests. When the South, remember, incidentally, it is in Asaba, the capital city of the vice presidential candidate of the PDP, when the southern leaders all came together, led by their governors, by their legislators, by leaders of their socio-cultural organizations, like Afenifere, Ohaneze, Pandef, and so on. Yeah. Now, they sat in Asaba and passed a resolution after a lengthy meeting that power should shift to the south. Then the same team moved to Lagos and reasserted that position. The same team moved to Enugu, and then for the third time, asserted that position. It says all the key southern zones. No, they did it symbolically in the south Asaba, in the southwest Lagos, and in the southeast Enugu. And they all converged in Abuja, and then reiterated that they formed what they call Southern and Middle Belt Forum. And the Southern and Middle Belt Forum met and then passed this resolution as well. So it is apparent that the South needed the party, all the political parties, and they've said it all over, that let the two major political parties, or all political parties, zone the presidency to the South.
And they failed to do that.
And that is when PDP ought to have taken that decision and zone the presidency to the South in defense and protection of its support base. But PDP failed to do so. And this failure led PDP to be losing almost the entire South East, and we will lose at best it will get 1/3 in the South-South. That would mean that it has lost the whole of Southeast and 2/3 of South-South. Now, where will PDP get the votes in the rest of the country to replace those
That will
votes?
be a topic of another day. Thank you very much for your take. We will take a break now, and when we return, the discussion of the day commences. Please don't go away. Welcome back. This is Daily Politics on Trust TV, and now let's get to the discussion proper. Well, Elias, let me start with you. Is it you who took PRP to Taraba? Because you are the senatorial candidate for Taraba South, and you are going to slug it out with Governor Darius Ishaku. Why PRP?
No, PRP has been in Taraba State. It has history in Taraba, and it has quite, a very illustrious history in Taraba. It may not have won elections, but it's in the minds of the people. And it's been established, and so I joined the party, because, and for a number of reasons. One, it offers an alternative, platform to pursue the ambition that I have, which is to be the senatorial, the senator representing the Taraba South. And if you look at what's happening, the two dominant political parties, the PDP, and which has been ruling the country, the state since 1999, and APC, who just came in as a JJC, journey just come lately. They seem to have run out of ideas. I mean, they have, because in the case of the PDP, because of the abysmal performance of the present governor Darius.
But is the person you are going to face for the Senate?
Yes.
Are you confident?
I'm very confident.
How?
I'm confident because he has not, delivered the mandate to the people. I mean, all over Taraba, Darius it's a name that evokes a lot of emotions of failure, emotions of lack of performance, emotions of disappointment. Even the people who brought him, like Bash Otiwa and Juma, for instance, who actually worked to bring him, are disappointed in him. His party members are disappointed in him. The people of Taraba are disappointed in him. Now, how can you, somebody who has been representing Taraba as a governor, as a minister, and then as a governor for 8 years, today we are talking about in Taraba, people have gone without salaries. They have not been.
But how did they allow him to get the senatorial ticket? If you say he performed dismally.
Yeah, because he bulldozed his way through the party. He controls the party, very, very tightly controlled. He has a chokehold on the party. Nothing works in the party. He has weaponized, poverty. He has made sure that everybody within the party toes his line, whether it's right or wrong. And because he has made sure that nobody breathes in the party. And he's trying to extend the same to the state and to the senatorial district. And people are saying, look, we've had enough of you. We don't want you in there. But again, because of the nature of our politics, because of the nature of our socio-economic development, where it's been monetized and where he has done quite a lot to weaponize the poverty in the state, he has been able to now bulldoze his way. But that is not what he's going to see at the elections, because people are tired of him. They want to see his back. Even he himself, he should ask himself a question: is he healthy enough to do that? And again, let me even tell you one thing. This is a man who, as a governor, is inaccessible. He has no empathy on the people of the southern part of Taraba. He has not even visited. He does not visit the area often. He wants to go and represent them at the Senate. And the people are saying, if you are a governor in Jalingo, we are not able to see you, you are not accessible. What will happen to us if you are in Abuja? That means we will not have any representation. It's just like a waste of votes and a waste of seats. So we don't want you there. Go and rest. They're telling him in several ways, but it doesn't seem to add up.
Okay, we'll come back to that. Doctor, in Adamawa, we're talking about realignment. And you are one of those people who are championing this, because big-time member of the People's Democratic Party. When you defected to Social Democratic Party, yes, the people were shocked as to why you defected, and why SDP?
Okay. Why I defected is because PDP has not been able to follow the law, not even the rules that she set up for herself, like the constitution of the party and the guidelines of the party. This is what binds all of us together as members of this political association. So we ought to stand by our rules. We ought to obey our constitution. PDP never does that at all. And because of that, both as a party and as a government, and because of that, I took the party to court 11 times.
On what basis?
On the ground that they flouted the provision of the party constitution, the Electoral Act, and the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria in the oppression of its activities. It never followed any rule. If, for example, they said that we should hold this conversation in this studio, then I come to this studio, then I learn that the conversation has been held already in another place at a different time. And you expect me to accept that? Because this is what the rule says, that this conversation must be done in this Trust Television studio at 7:30 or 8 o'clock. Then I was told that it took place in Gokana by 7. Has it been played according to the rule? No. So you go to court. And I went to court 11 times, 5 times at the High Court, 3 times at the Court of Appeal, 3 times at the Supreme Court, on all issues.
Have you won any of the cases?
Not one. In fact, not even one of the substantive matters I ever took to the court had ever been treated on merit. They've always knocked them out on preliminary objections. And in many cases, the court fabricates facts. The courts,
is it the courts or the lawyers?
The court itself. The court itself.
How? But you know, they said courts are not Father Christmas.
But courts fabric. I wrote a book, Court and Politics, chronicling my experience in the Nigerian theater, in which I brought all these cases, the facts, my facts, the facts of the opponents, and then the judgments of the court, and then my analysis of it. They are very clear. I have seen it in 2 occasions. The court did not even enter judgment in it, one at the High Court level and one at the Supreme Court level. Now, the courts, our courts, with all due respect, they are fond of doing that. For example, this case that we are talking of, the Uche Secondus removal, the national chairman, he was removed illegally. He was the chairman of, there's an allegation that he was removed illegally. Let me put it this way. He was the chairman of the major opposition party, and it has to do with an election matter, and it is during a transition period. And this matter is a matter of constitution. It brought it to the Supreme Court. The least the court will do is to determine this matter on the merit, because without doing so, it will affect the transition. But what did the Supreme Court do? The Supreme Court adjourned the matter till 30th of October 2023. It was central reason for why I even left the party, the PDP.
Okay, because, the issue at the national level.
When the court did not determine the most fundamental issue, which I know it will affect the transition, it will affect the election, and I am interested in contesting this election, there was no way. And the Supreme Court ought to have determined this matter on the basis of law and justice. They said, justice delayed is justice denied.
Yeah.
So this is why I left the PDP. And why SDP, you said?
Yes. Now,
SDP, I joined SDP because actually it is the first political party that I came into contact with. Way back in 1993, before the formation of the PDP. So it's the political party of late Janasheo Musa Yaradua. I participated, in the politics of the SDP. It's the political party of Atiku, who contested under the platform in Gongola State. I participated in the process under Atiku. Then it is the political party that of Chief MKO Abiola, who contested the election in 1993, the June 12th, and won, although it is annulled. And he contested under what is now being a major issue, Muslim ticket, and he won. It therefore tells you that SDP can actually, unite this country and will mitigate the issue of ideological differences like in religion. Then in Adamawa State, it's a political party that Balataka took into the state, and the party is well accepted virtually in all parts of the state. In fact, in 2015, with the Buhari tsunami, even at that, SDP came second in Adamawa after APC.
So it was, in a nutshell, it was a carefully planned
decision. It is, of course, it wasn't just a
Okay,
like
I will come back to ask you a question on your relationship with Atiku Abubakar, the candidate of the PDP, and somebody from Adamawa State. But Malam Gadu, if you put tribes, in Adamawa and Taraba, because they are sister states, over 100. What is going to happen in the coming days, considering how the politicians actually are trying to capitalize on some of these sharp lines, maybe to achieve their...
Well, you're right when you say Adamawa and Taraba are sister states. They share a lot of, similarities, actually, being the fact that, they are states that have very large number of ethnic, small ethnic groups. And that is in itself even affects or characterizes the politics in those states. And in many respects, they are similar in terms of their politics. And the character of the politics in those two states are determined by ethnicity because of the multiplicity of ethnic groups, and politics and religion. These are two very important factors that drive politics in these two states. And that is because the political, first of all, the ethnic groups want to protect their interests against perceived, larger groups. And in this case, the larger groups in those two states, or rather the historical factor of those two states, is that they were governed by Fulani aristocracies. In Adamawa, for instance, I don't know whether my elder brother here would agree with me. The Fombina, it used to be known as Fombina. It was the place where you had the large, Fulani aristocracy ruling, and then of course, naturally, the smaller ethnic groups would, form some kind of ambivalence and some kind of opposition to it, and that would translate into politics. And that is what's happening. Even though in the case of Adamawa, it's a bit flexible, but it's much more rigid in Taraba State because of the fact that the two senatorial zones, the northern and central zones, were the former Muri emirate or province, and of course the dominant group there, ethnic group there, was the Fulani, and the other groups like the Mumie, the Karim Jos, the John Jos, and the rest of them sort of tend to be opposed to what the Fulanis used to do. But again, they have formed a kind of Muri confederacy in which translates into their politics. The southern Taraba zone is made up mostly of the Kwararafa elements, Kwararafa ethnic groups. They're also a hodgepodge of several ethnic groups, the Jukuns, Chamba, Ichen, Kuteb, and the rest of them. So the complexity is much more pronounced in Taraba, and this characterizes the politics. And of course, as I said, in the case of Taraba, it's pretty much more defined in the sense that, it's much more, Taraba is often said to be a Christian state, and that is part of
But is it really true?
Yeah, but that reflects the reality of the politics, because it's like, look, this is where we stand. Good or bad, we are this. And that is a manifestation of the fact that the ethnic groups there feel that in Christianity they have an ideology to defend their political interest. So good or bad, they'll give their votes to a party that appears to protect that interest, which is why for the past since 1999, PDP has been the party in the state. Yeah. And of course, any other party that comes would have to either follow the PDP pattern or be out on a limbo. And that's why, for instance, one of the notables of PDP who now moved to the APC was reminded that at the point where he was in PDP, he was quoted to have said that APC, which is the party that came in, was a Boko Haram party or a Muslim party, and he would not have anything to do with it. And now he has found himself back in the party in the
and
APC.
he's in a dilemma,
And it's a dilemma. So
swallow
the same
what he
people are
said.
saying, well, you have moved to the Boko Haram party, the party that you accused of being a Boko Haram party. Now you have gone over to the Muslims, to the Muslim party. So all these things are the things that are
So they are playing out.
And that's what makes it more complex, because at the end of the day, Taraba State in actual fact is in a turmoil. The PDP is on the verge of implosion.
And we will get to that, because I will ask you a question on the configuration for the gubernatorial election. Doctor, how did Atiku receive the news of your defection to SDP? And everyone knows you.
Well, Atiku is my elder brother, and he was my boss. I worked under him. We had some disagreements here and there, and somehow the disagreement was basically to advance his interests, but in my own way, in my own viewpoint, which he saw as maybe he disagreed with it, and I took very strongly to my views, and well, he is still struggling to get what ought to have been his long back in 2007.
Yeah.
So I tried to do what I can, so we didn't sort of agree on many grounds, and it's one of the things that I said, okay, let me go to SDP. I don't know his reaction, because he didn't comment on it. No, since he didn't comment on it, that means, well...
Maybe he's planning something, because obviously as presidential flag bearer of PDP, he will do all what it takes to see that PDP wins in Adamawa. How optimistic are you?
Well, I said it earlier, the only thing that may, by God's will, make SDP lose the election in Adamawa is if PDP wins the presidential election. If PDP wins the presidential election, there is a likelihood that I will lose the presidential, the congressional election.
PDP wins
at the same time. Wins at the presidential election. Because the president-elect now will be back into Adamawa. The entire apparatus of the federal government will move along with him. He will have more confidence, more powers, and he can even be more vicious and then get, our people to come over. And because people generally like to go with the winner, with the victor, people will tend, to go this side. I may end up even calling my coordinator, and he won't be picking my calls because maybe the president-elect has talked to him and so on. So this is the only thing. Other than that, I can't see, in my own little view, I can't see how we will lose this election. If PDP loses the presidential election, either if APC wins the presidential election, or if Labour wins the presidential election, or if my party, the SDP, wins the presidential election, then I will win this election in Adamawa State without any doubt in my mind.
So you are confident?
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Well, we've discussed realignments in Taraba and Adamawa states. We will take a short break, and when we return, the conversation continues. Don't go away.
That's great.
If you are just joining us, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. Remember, you can follow the conversation on our various social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. Welcome back, gentlemen. Yes, discussing alignments and realignments in Taraba and Adamawa states. Ilyasu.
Yes.
There was this arrangement, even though not written, that Taraba North, Taraba South, and Central will be exchanging the gubernatorial ticket. And it has gone around because Inyame, right? He had it, Dambaba Suntai had it, and Darius also is now rounding up. But it appears that there is a plan to actually retain the seat in Taraba South, if I'm right. What is really happening, and is it really creating an issue?
Yeah, it is creating an issue. In fact, I did earlier said that the PDP, which has been the party ruling the state since 1999, is on the verge of implosion because of the lack of, not sticking to the principles. I mean, it's as you said, it's an unwritten arrangement, but it's also what has made the PDP to a very large extent to persist in ruling the state. Now, of course, you rightly said Joel Inyame ruled the state from the northern part of Taraba, and then after him came Dambaba Suntai from the central part of Taraba, until, of course, that tragedy that happened with the plane crash in which was involved. And then after that, of course, it went to the south, and then for the first time, the south under Darius Dixon Ishaku became the governor. Now the arrangement, unwritten arrangement, was that after Darius had his 8 years representing the southern senatorial zone, it will shift to another zone, which in this case is supposed to be the northern zone. And of course, for some time, that arrangement was actually on the front burner, but somehow. Something happened, and I think a supremo of the party came in and said, look, or a supremo in the state came in and said, look, I want this thing to stay in the southern part, and this has actually created a lot of mistrust and misgivings within the PDP. And of course, some of the people from the north, notables like Victor Balakona, like Danladi Baido, and a number of them who wanted to contest under that arrangement somehow felt cheated. So some of them were made to bite the humble pie, but a lot of them didn't like the idea, and some actually are sticking around to see that they do the party a lot of harm because it had reneged on its promises, just as the doctor was saying about the party not sticking to its arrangements. And in this case, and then the other issue is that the person who is now the recipient of the gubernatorial ticket of PDP was actually the chairman of the party. And he got in there on the understanding that as chairman coming from the southern zone, the northern zone would now have the ticket.
Yes.
So, but now because of the reneging on that, it's now thrown the whole thing into some kind of turmoil. And there is every possibility that this arrangement, this lack of trust, lack of sticking to the rules or sticking to unwritten rules would haunt the party, and it will cost it dearly. That is why some of the people within the party are really at daggers drawn, and they're willing to make sure that the party faces some problems. And also within the APC again.
Yes, I will come to that, because people are asking if PDP renege and retain the ticket in the south, why APC, SDP, and others? I will come. But Doctor, in Adamawa, for the first time, a history was made where a woman emerged as candidate of one of the strongest political parties in the state. She defeated many people, including Nuhu Ribadu. She defeated Namdas and I think two other.
The former governor Bindo.
Yeah, Bindo, 3.
Then there is one guy they call Otumba.
Yeah. Yeah. So were you not disturbed when she emerged?
Not at all.
Why?
Not at all. Because in the first place, we have seen it happen in our sister states. Whatever she did in Adamawa, she didn't do 1/10. 1/10, and I mean it, of what Mama Taraba did in Taraba.
The late Mama Taraba.
The late Mama Taraba, may her soul rest in peace. What she did in Taraba. This one, Mama Taraba virtually founded an entire political party in that state and then got it. But our own in Adamawa, she had always been in the major political parties, work her way, through and then get it in the major political parties. When I think she tried it in a smaller political parties for House of Representatives, she was roundedly defeated. So she
won Senate seat.
She won Senate seat under the APC, which is another major political party. So she does not have the capacity like Mama Taraba to virtually found a party and then run the party, get the nomination, and then lose at the general election.
But Doctor, some people will wonder, if she doesn't have the capacity, the wherewithal, and acceptability, she can't defeat Bindo, Ribadu, Namdas, and others.
Look, please. You see, primaries are different from general elections. Primary is conducted with a very small electoral college. How many of them? It's about 1,000 people. And of the 1,000 people, based on the constitution of the APC, is 5 people per ward. And of the 5 people per ward, 2 women in each. So what she just did is simple arithmetic. Go for the 2 women, and then whip up the gender sentiment, and then give them some money, give them some items, and then make some promises to them. And these poor village women just saw what they will get, and so they voted her.
Do you really agree with what Doctor is saying?
No, but this is a fact. She just left the votes of the
I want to have his take, because he also reads and studies Adamawa politics very well.
I think Malam Hamza, you have to understand that our gentleman here, maybe he may be, be engaging in, what we call opposition politics. I mean, that lady is a formidable. I mean, apart from the fact that she won fair and square. She's also well known as a person, is a great philanthropist. She's also known as a person who is unlike the typical Adamawa politician. She gives. She has an inclusiveness about her. Adamawa is part of what I am, because part of my family, I know. She has a sense of inclusiveness about her. And people for a long time, yeah, and a lot of people have spoken well about her. She has to battle. He said she lost, but she's battling, even as it is now, she's battling the gender issue. A lot of people, even within her party, don't feel that she should be, she should be, a candidate for gubernatorial elections under a major political party and with a chance of winning. So if somebody from Adamawa, maybe my elder brother
if she wins her local government, Yola South,
yes,
let her be elected, let her be sworn in as governor.
You are a candidate, Doctor.
If Aishatu Binani wins Yola South, let her be sworn in as governor, I concede.
What strategy are you going to use to confront her?
Please, she is not an issue. Please, you are putting, you are just making a mountain out of a mole.
But there is a woman that defeated a governor who left 3 years earlier.
I just told you. With the little strategy that she adopted on the gender issue. But give her credit. Okay, she used an opportunity of the gender and got it there. It's totally different ball game. And I also said that what Mama Taraba did in Taraba, she didn't do one tenth of it, I can guarantee you. And he is talking about being philanthropist. You see, I don't want to go into things like that. How did he get the money? Where did she get the money?
But you're also reaching out in your own way.
Pardon?
Doctor, I said you're also reaching out in your own way in terms of the philanthropy thing and all that.
No, I'm not a rich man. She knows. There was a time that I needed 3 million naira, within an hour to pay my lawyers for my case to go at the Supreme Court. And I called her. I went where to get the money. When I couldn't get it within this hour, I called her. I said, Honorable, please, can you lend me 3 million naira? I'll give you back within a short period of time. I need it. And gratefully, she gave me 3 million naira. And I went and I did it, and when I got the money, I returned the money to her. I thank her for that. But you see, it goes far beyond that. This is not even
Mala
the issue.
Ilyasu, yes.
Mala Hamza, I think Dr. Ardo, give her some credit for being able even to mobilize the women. Because the story
I have done so now.
Because
Didn't I?
the problem.
So
I would say that
maybe you didn't hear.
No, I heard it.
But you
because
see, I don't want
most
to
times,
even
most times, the issue is that women don't vote for women.
But this time around, they mobilized.
She was able to. There are chances that the women would take her money and vote for a male candidate. But she was able to mobilize the women and get another chunk of the men to be able to win.
Doctor,
so that
yes.
is really a political sagacity on her part.
Did you see the action taken by Governor Amadou Fintiri in replacing his deputy with professor, right, the vice chancellor of the Adamawa State University? He picked a woman. Don't you think it's also a sign of cowardice to drop his deputy to pick a woman, probably to checkmate Binani?
You see, I've been in this thing for long. Just like you can put on American electoral map the red states, the blue states, the swing states. I know the political topography of my state. I know the election pattern in my state. I know the drivers of election in my state. I know voter turnout in my state. I know the politics of my state. So my explanation on this thing with regards to Fintiri's reaction to Binani's emergence.
Yeah, he dropped Crowder. He dropped Crowder set.
It's basically, because I don't know the details in his mind, but he may have made it to checkmate Binani, but it's not from the women folk. If he was to take the variables of Binani, he would say to checkmate her, then one, he will have to take the woman to be a Muslim. Two, he will have to take the woman to be a Fulani. Three, he might, okay, maybe a zone. But you go and take
Crowder.
A non-Fulani
he
woman,
dropped Crowder said,
then you go and take a Christian woman. How does it help him in the woman? The gender issue has not grown up. If I give you the video clips of what happened just 3 days ago in Yola, the women in Yola, led by the Yola aristocracy, brought out virtually all the women and them and said, this is where we are going. Doctor, we are doing you. We are not doing a woman. And you see, the cultural, the religious aspects, they have only put it. I don't want to even count on that. You know, you see, the leadership has a lot of things, and central to leadership is character. And we got to you know, look at our leaders and pick our leaders on the basis of character and competence. It's not there. So, and I don't want to even make this issue, you know, on an individual, because as far as I'm concerned, that is not an issue at all. The key issues worrying Adamawa, they are there, and the drivers that would drive the election of Adamawa, they are there, and neither Binani nor Fintiri will go on that level. They can't.
Okay, Ilyasu, in Taraba, you see, of course, PDP picked their candidate from the southern, where Darius is around, you know. But even the APC, they picked Senator Emmanuel Boacha from the southern zone, right? Also, former minister and Senator Joel Ikenya is running on Labour Party from the same area. What is really happening?
There is a lot of problems. There are a lot of problems accompanying these selections. In the case of PDP, the case is in the court now. The candidate, of course, is neither here nor there. I mean, there are very, very strong cases against him that he collected the nomination for the party 4 days after. This is allegations 4 days after the stoppage of nomination, collection of nomination forms. In the case of APC, I would have loved you to say that that the issue is that he, who is parading himself as the candidate, still has issues to govern, because there are lots of the other people who contested with him are in court, and they're challenging his emergence as the ticket, as the party flag bearer. In the case of Labour Party too, where you have Joel Ikenya, there's also issue because already there was a candidate that had been, you know, put forward by the party. He came in at the last minute to be able to, when even everything has been concluded, to come and collect the party on the grounds that it had been that the man who had the mandate selected, resigned and selected him to take over. But then what I want to say is that the issue of 3 strong gubernatorial candidates from the south is creating a lot of ripples in Taraba State, because it is seen as a renegation of the arrangement, and it's seen as a kind of attempt by the southern zone to manipulate and monopolize power. And all the allegations and the accusations are being pointed at a particular individual, a very strong political and statesman, or so to speak, for being the power behind these issues. Now, if this continues, it's going to create a lot of problems, because already the northern and central political people are saying, look, we cannot accept this, and we are going to make sure that this doesn't happen. From my own reading of the situation, it's going to cause a lot of problems, because the two zones, northern and central zones, in terms of political numbers, in terms of whatever, are really going to be up in arms against this, and we are going to really going to have a very interesting time in Taraba, because it's going to be a situation where the will of the northern and central Taraba would clash with the determination of the southern zone to stick to power. And you and I know that when it comes to that, there's going to be a lot of uncertainty. And that's why we're going to have a lot of problems in Taraba. And that's why people like us are giving those two parties a wide berth, because we know they're full of problems there. And when you get in there, you get sucked into those problems. We are going to the parties, because the feeling right now in Taraba is we are tired of this kind of people.
You have Professor Yahaya, right, from Central, on NNPP, and Dedala Debaido on the SD. Will they make any difference?
No, they, of course they will make a difference, because they will be riding on the sentiments of the northern and central, parts of Taraba, who feel cheated by the fact that they ought to be, the power ought to have shifted to those areas. But because of what is happening now, and the southern zone says, look, justify that, look, we've had, all the 3 zones have had it, so it should be now thrown open to other people, because, and in fact, some of the argument that the southern zone is saying is that, look, John Nyame had it for 10 years, and Dampaba just had it for maybe 4 years or so before he died,
and unfortunately.
And then in the southern Taraba, they said, okay, by next year, Darius would have had it for 8 years. So they still feel that they still have 2 more years because of Joli Nyame, who had 10 years from the north. So they still have 2 more years. And then in any case, all the 3 zones have had their chance, so it now should be thrown open. And some even go to the ridiculous extent of saying, look, it's like what they call contribution, adashi or something like that. Now, the last one that took should be the one that will start the process.
That's why 3 are from there.
So that's that. But then, of course, it's creating a lot of ripples. And that will put more uncertainty both to PDP and APC. And of course, it will create ripples generally in the whole of Taraba. And that's why, it is going to be interesting to watch what's going to happen in Taraba, in the coming, elections.
Doctor in Adamawa, what are you telling the people, even though campaigns have not started, but they call it consultations? What are you telling people in order to vote for you, not for APC or PDP?
Okay, the thing that my brother here came short of saying is that SDP win at Taraba, for sure.
That's by
he's short of saying that, but I'm saying it for him. He's continually repeating that there's going to be a lot of ripples. The lot of ripple is that SDP win.
Just like in Adamawa?
Of course, just like in Adamawa.
But how?
Well, you see, if we agree that this country and also Adamawa State, if we agree that things have collapsed, that our country has actually collapsed, the economic system has collapsed, the educational system has collapsed, the security has collapsed, the entire gamut of statehood has collapsed. If we agree on that, and we have no other reason than to agree, if we agree, then we will have to blame those who brought it about. And it's PDP and APC. Because they are the only 2 political parties that held sway in this country since the return of power to democratic government. If this country had developed, if it had leaped forward and progressed, we will all go and bow before PDP and APC and say thank you. We commend you. But since the reverse is the case, we should not be afraid to say that we blame you. So what we are doing in Adamawa...
In 1 minute, in 1 second.
Yeah, what we are doing in Adamawa is showing the people how PDP failed the country, how the APC failed the state and the country at large. And it is obvious, and people have responded to that. They are looking for alternative, and they know me as a person. For the past 14 years, I have been in this struggle.
Thank you very much, Doctor, for your contribution and what you intend to do for Adamawa. Dr. Umar Ado, we thank you for coming. Ilyasu Gadu, PRP senatorial candidate in Taraba State. We thank you very much for coming to the program, and we hope to have you again in the nearest future, because we discuss dynamics, realignments, and I'm sure the dynamics and realignments will continue.
For me, I haven't even started.
Good. Well, viewers, this is where we come to the end of the program, during which we discuss realignments in Adamawa and Taraba states ahead of the 2023 elections. We hope you enjoyed the program and you will remain with us till the next edition. From now, thank you very much. I'm Hamza Idris.